The court has finally spoken, and the final decision has changed everything for Martell Holt and Melody Shari. What was once one of reality television's most talked about couples has now reached a point of no return. The love story that started with dreams, success, and fame has ended in silence, court orders, and broken pride. The final ruling didn't just close a chapter, it closed an era. It marked the official end of a story that millions once followed with hope, curiosity, and fascination. Today, the illusion of a power couple has fallen apart completely, leaving behind two people standing on opposite sides of the truth. The news coming out of the Alabama courtroom is not just about custody, it's about reputation, power, and the price of pride. For Martell Holt, this verdict is more than a legal defeat. It is the public unraveling of everything he built his name on. For Melody Shari, it is not simply a win, it is a moment of peace after years of chaos. What once started as a story of ambition and love has ended as a cautionary tale about ego, control, and the harsh reality of fame. Those who followed their journey from the very beginning remember how Martell and Melody were first introduced to the world as a couple chasing greatness. They built homes, businesses, and a brand that symbolized success, but behind those polished smiles was a growing storm. Over time, cracks began to show, secrets started to spill, and what was once admired became a public disaster. Now, with the final court decision, all of that history has caught up. The truth can no longer be avoided. Inside the courtroom, witnesses describe a tense atmosphere, cold, heavy, and filled with a sense of finality. Martell walked in confident, still carrying the attitude that charm could solve everything. But charm has limits, and this time, it ran out. The judge, unimpressed by his performance, focused only on the facts. Reports suggest that what came out during the hearing shocked even those who thought they knew the story. Hidden financial problems, emotional disputes, and months of legal back and forth finally reached their breaking point. When the gavel fell, it was over. The ruling stripped Martell of much of the control he once fought so hard to keep. Visitation restrictions, financial penalties, and mandatory counseling were just the beginning. Sources close to the case said the judge made it clear that the focus was now on stability and peace, not fame or performance. For Martell, that was the hardest pill to swallow. He had built his public identity on control of the narrative, control of his image, and control of how people saw him. But the courtroom doesn't care about image, it only cares about facts. When news of the decision spread online, social media exploded. Hashtags began to trend, videos circulated, and fans who once defended Martell went silent. The same people who once praised his charm now questioned his choices. It was as if the entire internet collectively turned the page on him. Anonymous insiders described it as one of the most humiliating moments of his public life. The fall from grace wasn't quiet, it was loud, public, and unavoidable. And while the world focused on Martell's downfall, Melody's quiet strength became the center of attention. Those who saw her leave the courthouse said she looked calm, composed, and unbothered. There were no tears, no statements, just peace. That calmness spoke volumes. It was the image of a woman who had fought long enough, cried long enough, and finally reached a place where the noise could no longer touch her. She didn't celebrate her victory, she simply walked forward, leaving the past behind. The contrast between them could not have been clearer. Martell, once loud and defiant, was suddenly silent. Melody, once silent and patient, now stood tall in quiet power. It was as if life itself was showing the world what happens when ego meets consequence. The same spotlight that once made Martell a star had now turned against him, burning through every layer of his public image until all that was left was the truth. Behind closed doors, people close to the situation say Martell struggled to accept what had happened. He believed he could still turn the story around, still find a way to win back public sympathy. But the internet had moved on. The fans who once defended him no longer cared about explanations. They had seen too much, heard too much, and felt too betrayed to believe in his words again. Every attempt he made to control the narrative only made things worse. At one point, a live video surfaced showing Martell ranting about betrayal, fame, and the system being unfair. But instead of gaining support, it only fueled more criticism. People weren't listening to his pain anymore, they were analyzing it, turning it into memes, and dissecting every word for signs of manipulation. The respect was gone. The trust was gone. And for a man who thrived on validation, that silence from the audience was the loudest sound of all. Insiders claimed that after the ruling, Martell tried to pitch a tell-all project to share his side of the story. But not a single network was interested. Producers didn't want drama, they wanted peace. Sponsors didn't want scandal, they wanted stability. Even his closest allies started to distance themselves. The man who once had access to every door in the entertainment world suddenly found them all closed. It was a professional and personal collapse happening in real time. Meanwhile, Melody was thriving. Her silence had become her statement. Instead of reacting, she built. Instead of posting, she worked. She expanded her business ventures, collaborated with new partners, and launched a foundation focused on family wellness, a beautiful irony, considering how much her story had revolved around protecting her children. Her strength came not from revenge but from resilience. She didn't win because Martell lost, she won because she refused to let bitterness define her. That quiet transformation made her the symbol of grace under pressure. While Martell's empire crumbled, Melody's foundation grew stronger. She had turned pain into purpose, and the public saw it. People who once watched the show for entertainment now followed her for inspiration. Her calm became contagious. She showed that peace doesn't mean weakness, it means wisdom. And that message hit home for so many who had watched her journey from heartbreak to healing. But for Martell, the fall was far from over. Reports of financial trouble began to surface. Properties under dispute, frozen accounts, and unpaid business obligations, all signs of a life spinning out of control. One insider revealed that he had even begun selling off luxury cars to cover his mounting legal costs. The same cars that once symbolized success now symbolized desperation. And still, he went online pretending everything was fine, posting motivational quotes about perseverance while reality was falling apart behind the screen. The irony was painful. The man who used to preach about family values, success, and leadership was now caught in the web of his own decisions. Fame had given him everything, and pride had taken it all away. For Martell, this wasn't just the end of a relationship, it was the end of a version of himself that he had created for the cameras. The version that looked perfect, talked perfectly, and convinced everyone that he had it all figured out. That image was gone. What remained was a man standing in the ruins of his own ambition. Those who have followed his journey know that this didn't happen overnight. It was a slow collapse built over years of denial, pride, and refusal to change. Even when the warning signs were there, Martell believed he could talk his way out of any situation. But the court isn't a talk show. There are no second takes, no edits, and no producers to save the scene. The truth speaks for itself. And when it did, it ended everything he thought he controlled. By mid-September, his public image had hit rock bottom. Interviews were cancelled, invitations withdrawn, and event appearances ended in embarrassment. One witness recalled a moment at a local event when Martell was booed as he tried to speak. The man who once demanded the spotlight walked off the stage in silence. That moment summed it all up, the applause was gone, and so was the illusion of power. In contrast, Melody's life was moving in a completely different direction. Every move she made seemed intentional, grounded, and free from the drama that once followed her. She had learned the art of silence, the kind of silence that protects peace. Fans praised her for her discipline, for refusing to engage in the noise, and for proving that success doesn't need to be loud. She became the example of what growth looks like after surviving public heartbreak. Those close to her revealed that she had been preparing for this moment long before the verdict. She made sure her business, her children, and her future were secure no matter how the case turned out. She didn't wait for the court to give her peace, she built it herself. That level of foresight and strength showed why she came out on top. While Martell was fighting to save an image, Melody was creating a legacy. As time passed, the internet began to see their story differently. It wasn't just about love and betrayal anymore, it was about transformation and consequence. Martell became a warning about pride, and Melody became a reminder of perseverance. Every headline, every viral clip, every fan discussion painted the same picture: one person let fame control them, and the other learned to live without it. In one of the most striking observations, a fan wrote, "Martell didn't just lose Melody, he lost the version of himself that could have grown with her." That comment captured what many were thinking. Somewhere along the way, he chose ego over empathy, spotlight over sincerity, and that choice cost him everything. It's not that he couldn't change, it's that he didn't want to until it was too late. Now, months after the verdict, Martell's silence speaks louder than any statement. His social media presence has dimmed, his public appearances rare, and the once confident voice of the show has turned into an echo of what used to be. Fame, when handled with humility, can elevate a person. But when fueled by pride, it destroys from within. Martell's story has become a living example of that truth. For Melody, peace has become her new stage. She no longer needs to prove anything. The same world that once doubted her now celebrates her strength. She has shown that victory doesn't always come from fighting louder, it often comes from letting go. In the end, she didn't just survive Martell Holt, she outgrew him. The final court decision didn't just separate two people, it separated two paths. One marked by chaos, the other by clarity. One filled with noise, the other filled with peace. Martell's downfall wasn't just a result of bad luck, it was the natural end of a story built on image rather than integrity. The same charm that once made him admired became the mask that hid the truth for too long. And that's the lesson echoing through every corner of social media tonight. Fame doesn't forgive, it exposes. The light that once shines can burn if you stand in it too long without honesty. Martell built a brand on control and lost it all trying to keep it. Melody built peace in silence and came out stronger than ever. This verdict is more than just paperwork, it's a mirror reflecting what happens when pride meets consequence. And for Martell Holt, that reflection is the harshest punishment of all. The story of Martell and Melody may have started as a television love story, but it ends as a real-life reminder that integrity will always outlast image. So now, as the dust settles and both of them walk their separate paths, the question that remains is not who won or lost, but who learned. Because in the end, the truth always reveals itself, and this time, it revealed everything.